Hello Pixies, and welcome back to my channel. It is Zoe here, and we are doing the end of the year book tag, which I am really excited about. I have some of the questions from the original tag here, of course, but also last year Jesse from Jesse the Reader, he did this book tag and he modified a few of the questions as well as added in some of his own, and I really liked the changes that he made as well as the questions that he added, so I'm also going to include those in this video. I know some people already did this video back in November, like beginning of November, end of October, but I feel like the first day of December is the perfect time to do this because we are truly in the home stretch for the year. I suppose without further ado, let's just get into the video with the first question. Do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? And I think honestly I have the perfect book to transition the autumn into winter type of vibe. This book was actually on my autumn TBR, and that is The Wildwood Chronicles, and this is a middle grade trilogy where we follow our main character who has a younger, like toddler aged brother, and they live, I believe, in Oregon, and there is this patch where people like don't really go, like you can't really get in there, it's like so brambly and tangled up. But then one day a murder of crows swoops down from the skies, steals her younger brother away. When she runs after them, they take him into the wildwoods, so she has to go in with her friend and figure out how to save him. And it sounds really charming. It's like set in the autumn, the books look so autumnal. It's like such like the perfect autumnal, cozy, magical book by the sounds of it. That's kind of what I want here at like the end of the year. It's just something magical and light and fun, and I'm really wanting to read that book. Are there any books that you started this year that you need to finish? This year I did start When Among Crows by Veronica Roth, and this is a novella. It has to do with magical creatures, but it's set in like modern day-ish. Is it modern day or is it more historical? I don't remember, but it's set in Chicago. And I'm really excited about this book, and I would really love to read it. I wanted to read it so much that I got it on audio from the Libby app. I got it on audio, and while I think the narrator is objectively good, I just didn't really click with the narrator, and I'm very picky when it comes to audiobooks. But I just felt like even though I could tell like most people would probably love this audiobook, that I wasn't really the kind of narrator for me, and because of that I just decided to stop listening to it and actually return it, because I think I would love the book a lot more and get a lot more enjoyment out of the book if I actually read the book myself physically. So I think that's what I need to do. I don't know if I'm actually going to read this book, however, by the end of the year, or if it's a book I'm going to actually read in 2025, because obviously I don't own it. I need to get it some other way because I don't even know if I want to own this book. I would really love to read it, and it's a book I started this year, but I don't know how realistic it really is for me to read this book before the end of the year. Is there a new release you're still waiting for, or a book you anticipated this year that you did not read but still want to? I don't think there's really any books towards the end of the year that I know of that are coming out that I'm just like, oh, I've been so excited for this book. And I think I've explained in some other videos on how I'm not like super keen on anticipating new releases because there's so many books in the world, not just new books. And like obviously still I want to read some new books, but like there's also a lot of backlog that I want to read. So like new releases aren't typically always my jam, and plus even when books do release that year, that does not mean I'm gonna read them that year. So there aren't any books at the end of the year that I want to read. However, there are two books that I was really looking forward to that I talked about in my mid-year freakout tag that I still haven't read. And the first one is Guardians of the Dawn, Amy or Ami. I don't know how to pronounce the name correctly, but this is the second book in the Guardians of the Dawn quartet by S.J. Jones, and this one is specifically the second book and the sequel to the Guardians of the Dawn Sahara. And if you don't know, I really enjoyed Guardians of the Dawn Sahara. I thought it was really fun. I had a good time with it. Is it my perfect book? No, but I still really liked it, and I want to continue on the fun time. So I was really excited that Guardians of the Dawn Amy was coming out, or Ami. I was really excited that the next book was coming out, but I just haven't gotten around to it quite yet. And I do want to own that one because I own Guardians of the Dawn Sahara, and I would like all of my copies of this quartet to match, and the next book is coming out next year, and I want them all to be hardcover, so I do need to get it relatively soon. By relatively, I just mean before the next one comes out, so I can get it in hardcover, not paperback. So that's kind of it for that one. I'm not really going to explain too much about because it is the second book in a series. The other book I'm really excited about is The Girl with No Reflection, and this is a story about a girl, and she becomes betrothed to this prince, but everyone in the palace, including the prince, is really unsavory and terrible and treats her terribly, and so she becomes locked in a room with like basically nothing in it but this mirror, so she keeps looking in the reflection. But then one day she actually gets pulled into the mirror, and in this mirror world there's other versions of all these people in the palace, and they're a lot better, they're a lot nicer, and she starts to fall in love with the prince on the other side of the mirror. And that's kind of all that I know about it. That just sounds so intriguing, and I've seen it in the bookstore several times since it's come out, because I believe it came out in like August, maybe September. It came out, you know, within the last few months of the year, really. And like, it looks beautiful, the cover is beautiful, and the story also just sounds right up my alley. Really would have liked to have read it. I just haven't yet, but maybe I'll get to it within the next year. Is there a book you want to read before the end of the year? Yes, I'm going to have a whole video tomorrow, I believe, talking about the books I want to read before the end of the year, so stay tuned to check that out. But one of the books that's on that list is Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. I loved Six Crimson Cranes, still need to read The Dragon's Promise, and I have been looking forward to Her Radiant Curse since it came out last year, and I would really like to read it. It's a prequel to Six Crimson Cranes. It is about the stepmother when she is young. That's kind of all that I know about it. The cover I own, which is the cover that I have popped up here, is one of the most beautiful covers that I own. I think it is the most beautiful cover that I own, which makes me even more excited about it, even though I was excited. And this book is also the last book that I need on my list for the year, which were the books I wanted to read in 2024. The last one I need, so I really want to read it before the end of the year so I achieve my goal. Plus, I've just been really looking forward to it. I wanted to read it during the spring. It didn't happen. I wanted to read it during the summer because I couldn't read in the spring, but it didn't happen. So maybe when we get into those more magically wintry times of this month, I'll pick it up and I'll have an amazingly magical time. That is what I am really, really, really hoping for going forward. So Her Radiant Curse is the book that I really want to read before the end of the year. But if you want to check out the other books I want to read before the end of the year, stay tuned for tomorrow's video. Is there a book that could still shock you and become a favorite of the year? I believe the answer is yes. Obviously, I just talked about Her Radiant Curse and the Wildwood Chronicles. Obviously, I think those are going to be books that I really love. However, well, I believe there's a book that I could read that would really shock me and become like a new favorite or top book of the year. I don't know what that would be because I feel like shock means that you're not expecting to love it. And while there's several books I want to read before the end of the year, there's multiple of them that I'm just could love them or I could hate them. So I think I could be shocked and have a new favorite before the end of the year, but I have no idea what that book would be. What's a book that you wanted to read this year, but you haven't read yet, that you feel would have ended up on your best books of the year list? That book for me is The Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. It came out quite a few years ago, but like the description is that there is this like war within the city and it's become overrun by people with powers that are considered monsters, or maybe it's just monsters. And I don't know much about it beyond that other than there is something with music. This is my most anticipated V.E. Schwab book at the moment. I have read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Gallant, and the first, well, and the Shades of Magic trilogy. Those are the only V.E. Schwab books I've read. I did try the Archive, but I wasn't really into it, so I stopped, and I read one of the Shades of Magic comic books, which I did enjoy. But this is like the duology that I think is going to become like my new favorite V.E. Schwab, possibly. And I would really, really love to read it. And I would have loved to read it this year, and I really thought I was going to be able to do it this year. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen, so maybe it will in 2025. A book you want to leave in 2024 and a book you want to take with you into 2025. And if the lighting has changed, I'm sorry, my cat has jumped into the window. But a book I want to leave in 2024 is Mermaid Moon. If you watched my summer TBR video, I was really excited about this book. It was mermaidy. It sounded so enchanting. It's about this young mermaid who goes on a quest for her human mother through the 37 Dark Isles. And then reading it, you basically are on one island the entire time. She's never really a mermaid. It's written kind of strangely. It's like set in our world, but it's just really weird. And also, I didn't really appreciate the way it was written, because when we were in the girl's perspective, it was written in first person, but when it was anyone else's perspective, it was in third person, and I found that very disorienting. And honestly, I don't want to think about this book ever again. I just want to leave it in 2024. I kind of regret reading it. I don't want to think about it anymore. I really did not enjoy the story, and I was really disappointed because I really thought I was going to love it. However, it didn't work out for me. I want to take with me into 2025, which I believe just means it's a book that you want to continue thinking about or would reread it in the future and is a new favorite. And this is a spoiler for my best books of the year for 2024, I guess, but hey, it's the question. And that is A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. I think it's the River Cadence duology. These are absolutely beautiful. Some of my top reads of the year. They're beautiful, they're lyrical, they're everything I could want in a story. They're like literally everything I could want in a book. And I think that's lovely. I still have thought about these books since I've read them back in August. I still think about them all the time. I see many rereads of these two books in my future. I just love them, and I'm going to continue talking about them a lot into 2025. If you haven't read this duology, you need to desperately. Have you started making reading plans for the next year? Yes, definitely, 1000%. Not only reading plans, but also video plans. I have TBR lists made. I have books I really want to read made. I have all these things that I want to do. I have so many videos I want to make that surround books and me reading these books. Quite a few episodes of Are These Books Comparable planned. I have a lot of reading plans for 2025. Like a lot of reading plans for 2025, and I hope you stick around enough to see them. And with that, wraps up this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. That would really help me out a lot. And also comment down below your answers to any of these questions, or if you just want to talk about the books that I talked about with me, I would also love that. And also subscribe if you haven't already. So I guess I'm done now. So I guess I'm signing off now. Okay, bye.